Okay, so we're going to move on to chapter 2. So we'll go from the home page, the My ASU home page. We'll click on the title, which will take us to our Canvas page. Remember, from the home page, we'll go down to the section of homework that we're currently working on. So we're currently in the section, sorry, my computer's going nuts here, in the section 1. And we're going to go to chapter 2. So we'll click on chapter 2. Then that new page comes up and we want to load the problems, so we'll click that. And it will take us to the chapter 2 questions. And this particular set of questions is going to concentrate primarily on the idea of the production possibility frontier of curve. Remember, they're interchangeable. We can call it the production possibility frontier, or we can call it the production possibility curve. And as a reminder, it's one of those models that we use in economics. Remember, a model being a simplification of the real world. And by simplifying things and modeling it, it allows us to try and view the world in a very simplistic way to get some sense of what will happen if something changes. So it's again, it's limited in what it can do, but it can also be quite powerful in giving us overarching understanding of things. But remember, in life, details are important too. So we'll go to the first question, and let's pull that up. And what you're going to do in this, you're just going to answer some questions. Oh, sorry, this particular, I think this first couple questions are also looking at what we call the circular flow diagram. And you'll want to take a look at that in your book. But all the circular flow diagram is doing, it's just looking at or simplifying the economy by two types of decision makers in the very simple circular flow. And that's the firms and the households. So remember, firms are the ones that produce the goods and services, and we use the inputs such as the land, labor, and capital to do that. And then those inputs, the land, labor, and capital, also known as the factors of production. So in economics, we call things, the same things might have multiple names. So our resources, our land, labor, and capital, are also known as factors of production. And then the households are the ones, meaning us, are the ones that own the factors of production, and we're the ones that consume all the goods and the services that the firms produce. But the firms can't produce any of that stuff without the households. So the circular flow diagram is just basically showing that relationship, that how dependent households and firms are on one another. A firm needs to hire people from a household if they want to produce anything. So with all of that in mind, you're going to read through these statements, and I'm going to just show you, you're going to want to read this from where is the money flowing, in what direction, meaning is it going from the firm to the household, or is it going to the household to the firm? So we'll just do a couple here. So the first one says, Sean earns $8 per hour working at a fast food restaurant. So where is the flow of the dollars going from? Is the firm going to be paying the household, which is Sean or Shen, or is it the household paying the firm? So Shen is earning $8 by working at the fast food. So I'm going to just tell you that's obviously going to be firm to household. And you're just going to go down and read the questions and decide which flow, where the money's going, from who to who. In all cases, it's either going to be firm to household or household to firm. All right, this question too. So here's our very simplistic, here's that guns butter, production possibility frontier or curve. So a quick reminder, the curve is just a way in the very simple world trying to demonstrate that we as a society can't produce, or we're limited to what we can produce as a society. So Remember, societies have unlimited wants, but what we have that's limited are our resources of production or our factors of production. We have a limited number of land, labor, capital, and I always put in the entrepreneur. So by drawing a production possibility frontier, we're basically saying, okay, in this very simplistic world, this is all we can produce with what we have at this moment in time. So A would be the impossible. It's probably where we'd like to be in the future, but we're not there because the boundary is here. So the C and the D and any point in between will be the efficient points. It's our boundary. It's where we're using everything to our absolute full potential. And then our point B is also possible today, but it's a point that we really don't want to be at, because why would we want to be inside the PPF when we could be way over here on the PPF? So with that in mind, you'll want to then continue on with these questions. So the question is saying, the production possibility frontier has a bowed out shape, meaning it has that curvature to it, because the quantity of guns the economy must give up in order to produce more butter is doing what? So we've actually done this in a class. So I'm not even going to help with this. I think you should be able to do that. But it's looking at what's happening as we go ahead and produce more and more butter. What is happening to our gun production? And then here, this is just asking, and I just went over this, what the different points mean. So remember, feasible means it's possible. That's what feasible means. And so it says feasible but inefficient. So remember, anything inside the PPC is possible or feasible, but it's not efficient because we're not using all our resources. Anything on the PPF is possible and is efficient, and any point outside of the PPF are the impossible to achieve at this moment in time. Continue on. All right, so this question here is asking you to, I believe you need to start moving this. So the first time you work with these diagrams, it can be a little bit intimidating, but you'll get used to it. So what you're going to have to do here in this part of the problem is you're going to actually need to move this in some way. So just to show you, it's showing you here and here. It's kind of trying to give you the key. So if you click on with your mouse on the dot, you're able to move the position of these things. So I just wanted to show you. So you're going to use your mouse, but you're going to move it by going to the dot area. Okay, so let's go ahead and read the question. So it says, show what happens to the production possibility frontier. So it's saying what's going to happen to this thing, our curve, if society develops a new fertilizer that significantly increases agricultural production. So it didn't say agricultural and industrial, it just said agricultural production. So remember in class we went over this, that would be a specific shift. So I'm just going to show you, you would click on the dot and then you would just kind of move to demonstrate what would be happening. Okay, this question is now having you fill out a table, and it's just practicing, making sure you understand the difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics. So as you approach these questions, just remind you, microeconomics is where we're looking at very specific market. It's more the small, the individual, and macroeconomics is going to be more issues of how it will impact, income overall, people overall in an economy. So as a hint that you're only going to have one issue here that's actually going to be considered a macroeconomic issue. And then this next question is going to have you look at the idea of positive and normative statements. So quick reminder, positive statements are ones that have evidence to support what they're saying, while normative statements are more opinion generated. So it's where you'll have the words like, ought to, should, could, would. And keep in mind, the normative statements might be correct, but if they're being said in such a way that it's like, we should do this or we ought to do that, that's going to be normative, while positive is going to be discussing more of making claims with some evidence. So I think you should be able to do that as well.